Hey everyone, welcome to Season 6, Episode 1 of the Drone to 1K podcast. I am your host, David Young, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what to expect if you've never been here before. And if you are a listener of the podcast, I can tell you what's coming up for this season. So we typically only release about one season a year, 10 episodes, and we don't release stuff until we have all 10 episodes recorded. That way we don't get behind. So I just finished the 10th episode right before I left for Christmas break, and now we are going to be releasing them. So episode 1 is today, and it is with someone named Brian Koester. I first met Brian in one of our programs, courses, actually it was the Drone to 1K course back in 2020. And he built a pretty sweet business for himself. It started off sort of in real estate, then switched over to mapping. He's done some really cool stuff working for attorneys and architects. He's going to tell you all about it on today's podcast. So I hope you enjoy it. I will tell you that my favorite part of the podcast was when he talked about what he's doing for attorneys and how he was able to use some mapping work and the examples he used of how he proves stuff in court a certain way. So pretty cool. At least check that part of the podcast out if you're just skipping around. But as always, if you want a free shirt, leave us a review typically on Apple Podcasts. Just leave an honest review. If you hate this podcast, go leave a 1-star review, email me. I'll still give you a shirt. I'm not trying to bribe you to leave a good review. Other people who are looking for shows like to see what other people think. So if you really like it, leave a review. If not, no worries. Hope you enjoy the podcast. All right, welcome back to the Drone to 1K podcast. I have with me today on the podcast a special friend, Brian K. We're at Southbay Drone Services. Brian, thanks for coming on the show. I want to give us a little background on yourself and your business, like just a little 2-second version.
Sure. This is my third career. My first career was in advertising as an art director. So I created magazine, TV ads, stuff like that. I did that for about 15 years. And they basically kick you out at age 40 if you don't move up in management. There's no 40 or 40 plus year olds in an ad agency. So right on time at age 40, I of course got kicked out. Went on to my second career, which is web development, building websites. So I started a company doing that. And I did that for about 13 or 14 years. I still kind of do it a little bit on the side, but I don't really push it anymore. I still manage websites and I still build them every once in a while. But I found that business to be very difficult, hard to get clients to understand the costs of everything. Everybody thinks it's super cheap when it's really not. So I decided I really needed to move on to something else. And I had been flying radio controlled airplanes for most of my life. And I remember we were on vacation in Washington State at Olympic Park. We were hanging out at this really cool little hotel on the lake. And this guy and his family were sitting on the edge of the lake. And all of a sudden he brings this drone in, and I'd really never seen a drone before. He brings it really close to them. They all get together. He hits a button. The drone just starts slowly pulling back up into the air. And while they're all waving and smiling, I'm like, that is so cool. I totally want one of those. And eventually about a year later, I got around to buying one. I bought a Mavic 2 Pro. So I had this expensive little toy, didn't know what I was going to do with it, thought a lot about it. I ended up talking with one of the parents of my son's friends, and she's a real estate agent. And I said, hey, I think maybe I could do something with this drone that I have. So I talked to her about it. And basically her advice to me was, hey, it's great you got a drone, but really what we all need are photographs, interior, exterior photographs. Like maybe every once in a while you'll need to use a drone, but really if you want to do it, that's what you got to do. So I was a little disappointed, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to go down this route. So I practiced for like all Christmas vacation, did an online tutorial thing, kind of learned how to do it. And I went to her and I said, okay, I'm ready. She hired me and I did my
Right.
first job shooting just the interior, exterior photos. If I looked at them now, they're completely awful. I was terrible, awful at it.
But you were willing to suck at first
Oh yeah,
to get better
totally.
later. I mean, if you wouldn't
And
have been willing to even do that, you would not even have gotten there.
exactly. And she was super nice and like, these are great. These are awesome. But I hated them. And I'm like, I got to do better. So I was super
But you hated
committed
them
to
at the
like,
time you hated them? Like, you knew you
oh
hated them
yeah.
then?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I thought his are pretty good, but they're not like what other
Sure.
people do.
You
So
knew what they could be. Yeah.
I knew what they could be. So even though she's like, this is great, I wasn't happy. I kept trying to refine, get better and better. Every job I did, I tried to get better and better. I did that for a year, that whole summer season of shooting. And then, in the winter, it calms down a lot. And I just decided, you know what? I want to be better than this. So I found a different guy on YouTube, a guy named Nathan Cool. He has a whole bunch of video tutorials, and it was to shoot in a completely different way than I was doing that first year. So
Okay,
again, I
cool.
spent all winter learning this new technique and trying it out and getting ready. So when I got my first job, I did again the new technique, and oh my God, it was 1,000 times better. And I'm like, oh,
Now, what
okay.
was the new technique called?
Well,
Or does it
not to
have a
get too in
name?
the weeds, there's really two ways you shoot in real estate. You either shoot what's called HDR or you shoot flambient. And my first year I was doing HDR, but the second year and from then on, I've been shooting flambient. And I like flambient a lot. And by the way, flambient is flash plus ambient. That's the combination of those two words. And
Yep.
basically you're shooting one shot that gets you the real shadows and sun. And then the second shot gets you the color, correct, with the flash. Anyway, you combine it in Photoshop. And what I liked about it was you had total control over the situation. Like I knew in the moment that I had the exact pieces I need to make a great shot versus HDR, where you just shoot it, you go home and you hope that everything comes
Mm,
together and the computer puts it
mhm.
together. So you're like,
Yep.
fingers crossed that everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
Flambient, I felt in control. HDR, I did not feel in control at all.
It would take a little bit more setup because you gotta bring a flash, or is it just go on top of your camera? Or is it like a tripod, like, light?
Yeah. So basically, the best way to do it is to have one really large flash that works in
Mhm.
big spaces like living room. And then if you
Yep.
need it, I have a little flash on my belt loop, essentially. And I pop that out and I take a couple pops to like fill in areas. And then when you get into smaller rooms, you don't need the big flash, like bedrooms, bathrooms. So you just walk around with a handheld flash and it goes pretty quick. I can get in and out of the house in about 30 to 45 minutes. So
Okay,
the
sweet.
more you do it, definitely the faster you get. Because
Yeah.
by looking at the histogram, like you're really following the histogram. By
Mhm.
looking at the histogram, I've got it. So I don't have to think, oh, is this going to work? You just know. As long as my
Right.
histogram is good, you're good.
Sweet. Okay, awesome. When did you see that person flying that drone on the beach? And then when did you get your first drone in the calendar
So
timeline here?
yeah, I saw that drone on the lake in August of 2017.
Yeah.
Got a drone sometime between then and 2018, somewhere around there. I did my first real estate shot with no drone. The first year I didn't do any drone because I didn't
Yeah.
have a license. And I
Right.
felt like I really needed to learn this photography thing. Like I was going to go nowhere unless I could do that well. And so my
Yeah.
thought was,
Yeah,
I
right.
got to do that well before I add more complexity.
Yep.
So I did a year of that. So my first real estate shot was in February of 2019. And that was when COVID hit. So right around before COVID, I found you guys online, Drone Launch Academy, and I did my Part 107 testing through you guys. So thank you very much.
Good job.
And I actually did the test like right after COVID started. So it was really hard to find a testing facility that would take
Oh, were
me.
they, like, all closed?
Oh yeah, they're all closed. When things got a little more open, I finally found a time and a place that I could do it. Once I had that, then I started adding drone too. And by the way, over COVID, I just practiced a ton with that drone, like kind of learning how it worked so that I was ready when I did my first real estate with that.
Did you find business to be a little slow during COVID? I guess you weren't really super ramped up, it didn't sound like yet maybe, but did you find that period to be more difficult or not really?
Yeah, for this interview, I decided to go back and look at it. And it turns
Oh,
out it's
thanks.
really crazy. In July of COVID year, so July 2020, I suddenly was working a ton. I
Really?
didn't have any jobs before July of that year. But so that was pretty early on in the process. I remember that summer things kind of opened up a little bit. I suddenly just started working constantly.
Okay, well, sweet. I do remember you were in a Facebook group with some of our students. I just have like a memory of one clip where you're just like, just booked my first real estate shoot with a drone. And you listed the price or whatever it was. I think that was in 2020, right? Or was that in 2019?
Yeah, it would have been in 2020. Yeah, July of
Yeah. And I
2020.
was like, oh, sweet. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And that's what I love seeing. Like, I remember that all the way to stuff you're doing now. It's just cool to see the whole progression. So 2020 kind of started ramping up. You started using the drone, rocking the flambient method on real estate, and then
Yeah.
take us from there. Like, what happened and how did it grow? Were you doing enough business for this to be like a full time thing? How was that working with your like other business ventures that you were doing with websites?
So the website thing, I just kind of walked away from, essentially not
Really?
marketing it anymore. So it's kind of word of mouth.
Okay.
People find me, I still do it. So that was 1 year of just shooting photos. Then the second year of the summer season, I added the drone. And then while I added the drone, and by the way, I went through the drone to 1K group, the first group that you put together. I was in that initial
Yeah.
group, which by the
Like
way,
our beta
oh, I was
launch.
in the beta group. Oh my God, that course was so amazing because I'm like a guy that needs to understand, like you can kind of tell from my story so far, like I need to understand something to be confident and tell other people I could do this thing. And
Yeah.
that course was so helpful because you covered every little tiny little thing you need to know way outside of just flying a drone and shooting pictures. Like how do you set it up and how do you do this and how do you do that? And so going through that process really helped me establish a lot of
Awesome.
things. And one of the things was building a website, which of course I built my own website, but
Sure.
you guys gave me all of the other stuff you need to know, that sort of background stuff that all needs to happen.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I had built that idea. I built the website during the course. And because I had a website out there, I was getting contacted and I was running the Google Ads campaign that you guys had set up. I was getting calls for just random droney things. Can you do this? Can you do that were outside of shooting real estate? So those things just kept cascading and getting more and more of them. Really, if you want to fast forward like a year later, I was really doing maybe half and half other things and half real estate. If we fast forward to today, real estate's maybe 5% of what I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I mean, you're still part of some of our, like, group stuff, and so, I see what you're working on, things you post, which you're always extremely helpful. You, like, will put stuff in there like, "Hey, here's a job I did. Here's how I did it. Here's how I went here." Like, you just put, like, really, really good information in any type there's, like,
Yeah.
any to help groups out, which is super helpful. I appreciate it. I see now you're doing all these, like, construction things. I don't wanna jump too far there, but
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear the shift from real estate into some of the stuff you're doing now? Like, I know you got into, like, mapping and photogrammetry and stuff too, right?
Yes. That's the bulk of what I do now is actually photogrammetry, orthomosaic mapping. I've got like a hit from a construction company that had an emergency. They had a site where they were going to pour concrete the next day. And he's like, I need you to come out today, make an orthomosaic map so that I can look at all of the rebar and make sure that it's all where it's supposed to be because concrete's coming tomorrow. And this is a hospital. So it's a big, huge project. And he's like,
Did
I
they
got to make sure tomorrow that everything is good. Can you come today?
I just got this job this morning, apparently.
No, no. I don't, yeah, I don't know why he found himself in that bind, but anyway,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
normal people he would go to all couldn't do it
Sure.
for whatever reason.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so
Hey,
I
you're
slide
game.
in the door. I went out like within the hour. I'm out there flying. I do it. I get it to him. He's all happy. And then I continued following up with that guy. Eventually, like he's like, no, I don't have anything going on. Eventually it's like, oh yeah, there's this other site we have that we actually need a drone operator because the current one keeps crashing the drone. So this is a huge commercial construction company. They actually have in-house drones and they have Inspire drone as their in-house drone. And one of the workers, like assistant site supervisor, he was their
Yeah.
drone operator. He crashed two Inspire. That's a lot of money.
Hmm. Yeah, thousands and thousands of dollars.
So they're like, he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the guy. Please find somebody else. So the guy that I did the hospital job for, he's like, oh yeah, let me give you the contact info. They need a guy. So I
Nice.
went out there and met them and that turned into a job that I'm still doing now. And it's been like a year later. I'm still on site there every week doing construction progress, orthomosaic mapping, videos, photos. That's what I really love doing. And just to let people know, real estate is very time intensive. It's very low pay and it's a lot of hard work. You're definitely sweating. You're definitely going to sweat moving around the house, doing all that stuff, shooting the video like I was doing versus construction, which pays, I don't know, 5 times as much. You sit in a little vehicle, you cruise around the site, you get your drone up in the air. Most of what I'm doing is automated, sort of weighing the difference. It's kind of easy to say, real estate, great, but construction, progress, that
Bet.
better.
Now, I wanna go back real quick. I think there's some valuable maybe nuggets we can uncover for people here. You did that emergency job for that guy for the concrete pour. And then you said, kept following up with them, following up with them. What did that look like? Because somebody else could have just done that and then walked away, never contacted him again and forgotten about it. But I like the fact that you said you were in contact with them and following up. So from just a good business perspective, what did that look like in your follow-ups? Were you just emailing him saying, "Hey, just checking in, see if you need any help," or can you get specific with if you remember, like, what that looked like?
Yeah, no, I totally remember. I emailed him because when I called him, he was super busy or wouldn't take my phone call. And you know what? I'm a nobody to him. I mean, this guy is pretty high up in the business over there. And I'm just a guy who went out and did an emergency job or whatever. But I did
Yeah.
continue following up via email just because I figured that's pretty low stress engagement for him to just read my email and by the way, I didn't send it like every other day. I'd send it like
Right.
once a month, just give it some
Sure.
time, let it breathe,
Yeah.
reach out to him again. And then it paid
Would
off.
you
Lucky with timing.
you say lucky with timing, but that's
Yeah.
because of you created the luck, because of
Yeah,
your accent.
exactly. That
Yeah.
that's what, luck is all about how hard you work.
Right, right. Did you just happen to remember, like, once a month, or did you have any system for, like, "I'm gonna set a reminder for a month from now to hit him up again"?
I
How'd that work?
I didn't have a formal system. I knew, especially going through the Drone to 1K program and just kind of because in that program, you really emphasize, hey, sort of look around at all the things, all the business models that you can do drones with. And I'm just a construction nerd anyway. So it was a natural fit for me to kind of do it. So it was really important to me to keep, putting bait in the water in the construction world and just keep
Yep.
hitting it. So I didn't have to remind myself. I just knew that I
You
needed
were
to
it
keep,
was on your mind.
I had a foot in the door and I wasn't going to pull my foot out if I could help it.
Yeah,
So,
it's great.
and it paid off. I mean,
And
I
then
got a job.
yeah, absolutely. And were your emails just like well, give me an example of, like, what an email would say if we're gonna get, like, real specific. Yeah, if I'm Bill, the construction guy that hired you, and you're writing an email to me, what do you say on your follow-up?
I'd basically say, hey, Bill, it's Brian from Southbay Drone Services. I just wanted to touch base again. I'd done this project X for you and just let me know if there's any other projects that you need a drone guy for. Remember I do orthomosaic mapping, stockpile, photo, progress, all that stuff. Just a
Just
basic,
remind
I
you
just make it simple. Just say, hey, remember me? I did this job. Here's the things I can do. Let me know if you have a need.
sweet. So just kinda a
Simple
little
to the
ping
point.
reminder that I exist. Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
So if you're listening and you're afraid to follow up, just send a nice little email. Hey, remember that I exist and I did this for you once. Let me know.
And by the way,
Cool.
the thing
So
I did for him, like, really bailed him out. So he's got a little
yeah.
soft spot in his heart for.
So you went from real estate, shooting real estate. Now, were you making decent money doing real estate, or were you like, this isn't really paying well for me when you were back
Well,
then doing real
I'll
estate?
give you the number. So I live in Los
Sweet. Love
Angeles,
it.
so it's a pretty higher end area. Definitely people get paid here more than other places. Basically, I had a price point that was between 200 and 300, depending on the size, square footage of the house. And it was let's just say it was 250 to shoot the photos. It was another 250 to do the video, which was originally was with a DSLR camera on a gimbal. And then if they wanted to add a drone, it was a $150 add-on. And then that drone would go towards photos and towards the video. So you got a benefit in both from the drone.
And then were you like doing decent volume with that? Like, was that enough to survive on, or were you like, it's just not cutting it? That's for with that price point, with the volume you were getting.
I'm not the breadwinner in the family, so I didn't have a lot of pressure on me to
Okay.
deliver. I was much more interested in building the business. And the time cost benefit analysis over time became clear to me that I didn't want to do 2 jobs or 3 jobs a day in real estate. It was just a lot of effort for the amount of
Yeah.
money compared. I mean, if that's all I had, that's all you'd have. But I had other
Sure.
opportunities and other business models that were much more profitable for a lot less effort. So it
Yep.
was pretty obvious to me that that's where I should focus.
And I even remember back then when you were doing real estate stuff, I remember you talking about, hey, I would really like to get into construction. I remember you asking a lot of questions about how does it work? What do people want? What are the deliverables? You would post, I just went to this construction site and I just went and videoed a bunch of stuff. And what do you guys think
Oh,
about
I
this?
did.
And everybody's like, oh, that's so like you're pretty good. Like you sound humble, but like you're pretty good at even just like cinematography stuff. You got like really cool looking shots and all this stuff of the site. So you're definitely someone who like really digs in deep, like you said, and understands things and gets good at it. I even know back then that you were pushing towards the construction. So it's nice to see that you like stuck with it and it's worked. I think people might want to know too, if there's people who are on here that are listening, they're totally new. We've been talking about photogrammetry. Would you mind just explaining in layman's terms what you mean when you say you're doing photogrammetry for construction?
Sure. I have to do this all the time because nobody understands what an orthomosaic map is or
Right,
photogrammetry.
right.
So yeah. So basically think of it in the simplest terms, it's Google Maps on steroid, like on super high resolution. So basically you're taking maybe thousands, hundreds of photos straight down, and each one has geolocation data in it. And then you upload it to some sort of software, and that software stitches it together, gets rid of all the distortion that's in every single lens and creates one giant photograph straight down that has no distortion. In fact, it's so undistorted that you can get like half an inch to a pixel kind of resolution. And what's really great about it is you can measure from any point inside there to another point, and it's super accurate down to an inch. Like if you really can put those points, you'll know exactly how far it is from one thing relative to another inside that photograph. And so that's what's really useful to a lot of people.
That's one of the best, simplest explanations I've heard. I might just rip that off word for word for some of our other I'll give you credit. I mean, you talked about the concrete pour, but can you think of another example where a construction client might utilize orthomosaic image with photogrammetry?
So, like at this big construction site that I go to every week, they don't always ask for an orthomosaic map, but when they do, they utilized it a lot, especially when at the early stage. So it's called earthworks when they're moving the dirt around. When I worked for the earthworks group, they used it a lot. They would take the JPEG from it because I would send them JPEGs at different resolutions, and they would use that in their little PowerPoint or whatever to talk to all the subs and say, hey, look, this area over here, this is where we want to focus on, or we need to move dirt from here to there. So it's basically they could go anywhere inside that, grab a little picture of that area, and then use that as a guide to talk to the subs.
So
So
they're using
that's,
it kind of like for site planning with their whole team.
yeah, because I took it yesterday. So it's super recent. It's very high resolution and it's very accurate. So it's a great way to visually communicate to everybody because on these sites, there's like hundreds of people, tons of different subs. And so you need to make sure everybody is on the right page. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And so this became a visual aid that helps them do that communication.
Good communication tool. Yeah. I know it's photogrammetry is a little bit less accurate on the Z scale, like up and down as opposed to left and right, but it still can be pretty accurate from like an elevation perspective too. So I don't know if Earthworks, if they are ever using that to figure out how much they need.
Sometimes they would drive you around the site and they say, tell me how much dirt is there. I need to know how much dirt is over there. I need to know how much they would point
Oh,
out the pile, and then I would fly
mhm.
those missions and do the stockpile analysis. And
Oh,
they
awesome.
loved that. That was super helpful. Now, the earthworks people, the people they've subcontracted to, they're also doing that stuff. So it's not like I'm the sole provider of stockpile, but there were instances where they needed the information and for whatever reason, the earthworks people couldn't provide it. And so I would go out and fly those missions for them.
Gotcha. Now, what software are you using typically to do these kind of jobs for the measurements
So
with orthos?
I use drone deploy. I decided to go on that route versus Pix4D because at the time, Pix4D was local processing of the map. And I didn't want to burden my computer with all that processing. So I thought better to cloud outsource it to drone deploy. And then plus drone deploy was super nice to me in the beginning because they give you the sort of, I think it was 14-day trial period or something. And then I would go out and fly and I was totally practicing, right? So I'd go fly something, I'd screw it up, I'd do something wrong. I'd call the guy up and I'd say, hey, look at my map. It's why does it look like that? And he'd say, oh, because of this or that. I'm like, okay, can I go out and fly it next week? He's like, all right, I'll extend it again. You
Oh, that's
kept
nice.
extending the trial period. I'm not kidding. They extended me about 3 to 4 months off the 14-day trial because I would go out. I'd say, hey, I'm going to go out
You're
in
actually
two
using it. Yeah.
days. Yeah, I'm going out and I'm going to keep plugging away until I know I can do this correctly. And he was super nice and just kept extending. I eventually bought the service.
Well, paid off for
So it
them too.
worked out for
Yeah.
them. You know, for them. Yeah.
That's very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I was you're not kidding with the computer thing. So I'm doing some master's schooling here coming up soon, and we're gonna be using some I'm gonna use Pix4D, the local stuff, and I had to buy a completely new desktop with whatever extra graphics card and processor stuff you need just to do any of those maps, locally. So it's nice when you have it in the cloud to do as well, where you
Yeah,
don't
I
have to
certainly
suck up
wouldn't
all
want to
your
store all
computer
those
power.
things, store those orthomosaic maps either. So it's a great service. I mean, I really like Drone Deploy. They've been great to me. They've been super responsive, and whenever I have an issue, uh,
Awesome. So drone deploy, stockpiles, construction sites. Today, you said most of your there like real estate is a very small percentage of your business. Mapping is a larger percentage of your business. Do you do mapping outside of the construction world, or is it almost all
contain to construction using photogrammetry for construction.
I'm so glad you asked me that, David, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Are you serious?
So, oh yeah, totally. You couldn't
Awesome.
have teed that one up better.
It
Um,
was not planned. I haven't even spoken to Brian in person at least
two
months,
years? I
maybe
don't know.
maybe longer. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Been a
Seriously.
while. So there's really three main focuses of my business now, and I wanted to share this because I think they are obviously construction. Everybody knows about it, but the other two that I do a lot of, I don't think people ever talk about it. So one is architects, and what I do is I go out and make a 3D model of an area of like a residential property, and then maybe a block all around it, and I send what's called an object file, which is the 3D version of that file. I send that to the architect, and you're like, well, what's the benefit to the architect? The benefit to the architect is I can go shoot it, send him that 3D model, say the next day or a day later. He now has all the elevation data for that site down plus or minus, let's say 5 inches, right? Which is plenty accurate enough for him to start working on the project, say versus waiting for the survey company, which is so backlogged out here. It may be 4 months until they can get out there. So that's 4 months of time. He doesn't have to sit and wait because he can't start until he knows what the ground looks like, right? It's not useful time spent. But with the elevation data from the object file, he can start working on it right away. That's his number one benefit. That's what he tells, because I've talked to him about this a lot. That's his big benefit. The secondary benefit is when he actually makes the 3D model for the property that he's redesigning, typically when you show that to the client, it'll be in like a CAD program, whereas you'll see the house, but all around it will just be blank space, blank
Or just
land,
like a
nothing there.
generic, like, fake person in a car or
Just
something.
whatever. Yeah. Or fake tree or
Yeah.
whatever. What he
Right,
can do
right.
is he can take and edit out the existing house in that 3D model and stick his house into that model. And now when he shows the client that sort of cool, camera zooming around the
Ring.
property, now you
Yeah.
see it in context. Like you could see, oh, that's what it's going to look like. That's how close the other house is. That's how tall the other house is. And it's really trippy. If you go in his model and look out the window, you will see what's actually outside that window as you pass by it.
Oh, wow. You can go inside the house in these models and go by them.
Yes. Yeah. And look
Oh,
out
that's
the
cool.
window and you'll see my 3D model of the house next door
So
or the
they can
tree.
see from this bedroom, here's what the view is gonna be out this window, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So if you think about what the architect's trying to do, he's trying to sell his design and say, this is the right design. And the client can go, oh, okay, I'm going to actually see whatever, or I'm going to see that
Yeah.
tree, or maybe we move the window over there or whatever. So
Yeah.
those are the two big benefits. So I do a lot of architects. The third business model that I really, this next year, so if you talk to me in a year, hopefully this will be up and rolling super big,
Let's do a follow-up. Yeah.
is lawyers. I've been getting a lot of legal work. I really work for two lawyers now a lot, and this is where I want to expand. So one of them is a personal injury attorney. And basically what I'm doing is somebody gets injured, killed, whatever, in a location. He gets wind of it. He calls me up and says, hey, Brian, go here and do this, right? I go to the site, I make an orthomosaic map, and then I shoot photos. So I've essentially documented the crime scene or whatever, the scene of whatever happened. I've
Instant.
documented,
Yeah.
instantly, now we have it locked in. Plus, he could then use that information if it goes to trial. Like he could put together a video that says, here's the location, here's what happened, or whatever. It just helps the jury
Mhm.
understand the location. So I do a lot for him. And he's super excited. Every time I talk to him, he's like, oh, I'm going to give you more work. I'm going to give you more work. The other attorney I do work for is an environmental lawyer. So I've really been working on this one case with him for a long time. I'm constantly giving him more information. And basically, I made an orthomosaic map. In this case, he got into the deposition. So he's starting to hear what the opposing attorney saying or whatever. And then he would call me up and they go, Brian, okay, now he says this well is here and that this happened. I don't think we're disagreeing with that. And I'd pull up the orthomosaic map and then I would draw a little line. I would say, oh, that's actually uphill from there to there. There's no way something's going to roll uphill because I have
Mm.
elevation. You can draw a line anywhere in space and it'll tell you the
Mhm.
elevation between the 2 points. Or I would say, oh, that's not where he says it is. Look, the background, the mountain back there, that's that crevice. I can tell you that location is there and not where this photo is from 1925.
Yeah.
And that's all we have, right? But the land hasn't changed since 1925. So you can still kind of figure out where things are based on that. I'm constantly giving him more data, like, okay, here's, and using that same orthomosaic map, but just pulling different kinds of data out of it. I originally did that for him because he wanted a jury. He wanted like a little minute. This is how I got the job. He wanted a minute and a half video that just kind of introduced the property because it's kind of a property inside a canyon area. And it's this big property. And he just wanted to have the jurors be sort of get their bearings of where things were. So as he's talking about different buildings and different locations, they have that visual picture in their head of, okay, that was there, that was there. And it was during that call, initial call, I said, hey, just so you know, if I make this because he just wanted a video. I said, if I make this
Yeah.
ortho mosaic map for you, let me tell you all the benefits you can get out of it. I can take photos at different locations and those photos would show up on the map, like geolocated. Imagine you're in a trial and you're looking at this long property. You could say, oh, let's look at this photo. You could click on it in the map. So the jury goes, oh, that's there. And then boom, it shows that photo. Everybody has, again, spatially where things are in relation to other things. So when you're just looking at a photo, you already kind of know where is it on this property. And he's like, that sounds great. So that's how I ended up doing the orthomosaic map. And then he would call me like, hey, Brian, can you help me with this
Now
problem?
that
And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I
now that you got
totally
the wheels
can.
turning on like that, what it can do, you know what I mean?
And absolutely now he's just like, oh, he's constantly having like, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? And the longer I work with him, the more he kind of is, again, like you're saying, his brain is going, oh, we can
Yeah,
figure that out with this.
that's awesome. Man,
So that's
I love that.
my third client idea that I would tell people. And all three of these, by the way, are all people that have a lot of money. I mean, lawyers, we're talking about big amounts of money. Architects, you're talking about million plus home
Project
model.
sizes are huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And commercial construction, I mean, these are massive projects, millions and millions of dollars. What you can charge is a lot more than what the real estate agent who's really concerned about how many sandwiches she's going to pay for the opening. Right. And then, oh, I got to charge, you going to charge me $150 for a drone?
Whereas on the construction or other stuff, you're just kind of like
Like,
a
oh yeah,
rounding
yeah,
error
just do it. Just
on
do it.
their
Yeah.
budget, yeah. And when you get in corporate stuff like that, maybe it's different with the attorneys, but, it's not like you are taking money out of this construction project manager's pocket. Real estate agent, you're kind of cutting
You
straight
are.
into their commission
Yeah.
versus, I guess, an attorney, maybe, or maybe they would bill that back to their client, I'm not sure, but at least the amounts are much bigger for them.
Actually, with attorneys, what I've learned is you can charge for the phone call.
Yeah,
They're
because
used to that.
you're
That's
kind of
part of their business model.
well, you're kind of a consultant for them, for their clients, right? So you're getting paid for what you're bringing, not just collecting that data, but helping them kind of piece it together. Man, I would never have thought of attorneys. That's a smart
That
business.
is my focus for the year is attorney.
What is it? What made you think of that? Was that attorney contacted you and that got your idea wheels going, or did you just randomly think that up and reach out?
So the environmental attorney was the first attorney that reached out to me. And again, he just wanted a video.
Video, right?
So the understand like, oh, I get it. A drone. We need a drone because we need an aerial view. It's in a canyon. It'll help me with what I need. That was my foot in the door. Um,
Yep.
with the personal injury attorney, God, what was that job? I'm going to assume it was the same kind of thing. It was, I just need this site documented and I need from the air. Oh, by the way, the personal injury attorney, you can't step foot on the property of where the accident happened. He told me it'll take sometimes 90 days to get that permission to actually physically step on the property. So like I did
Is
this
it
one
private
site.
property? Is that why?
Yeah, oh, yes, it's private property. So
Hmm.
there's one guy unfortunately passed away in a distribution warehouses, which where they load all the big trucks. So they have a ton of these trucks parked, right? And they were parked too close together based on their own guideline. So the fact that I could document, look at how close every one of these trailers are parked next to each other. And I remember in the middle of flying it, the guys who work in the building at the front gate, they saw me. And I actually had two private eyes who were with me representing the lawyer.
Okay.
They went over and talked to him and said, there's nothing you can do about this. We're totally 100% legal. They
Okay.
called the
I was like,
police. He came back and said, oh, they're going to call the police. I said, great, call the police. So the police showed up like 2 minutes later. Three cars rolled up like 2 minutes
yeah.
later. The lead guy goes, come here. And the first thing I said, I go, hey, look, I'm a FAA licensed drone pilot. I actually have to have FAA permission to fly in this location based on the airspace regulation. And I have that permission from the FAA. Just so you know, and he's like, so explain to me the rules. What's going on here? I said, oh, we can't set foot on their property, but they don't control the space, the air above their property. That's controlled by the FAA. And they've given me permission. He's like, okay, how much longer are you going to be here? I said, I'm like another 15 minutes and then I'll be done. He's like, okay, great. Then he pulls away, goes over to the gate guy, and of course
Yeah.
gives them the really bad news that there's nothing you can do to stop them from flying over your business.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing different than if somebody hired a helicopter pilot and a photographer to go fly
Yeah.
over it with a helicopter and snap photos. The police aren't going to go chase that helicopter down and be like, wait a minute, give me these pictures.
So the benefit to the lawyer is he could get all kinds of detailed photos because I could get all kinds of great detail about how everything is within a day or two of the accident when they've not had time to reconfigure the whole site so they're
Mm,
all in compliant. And
yeah.
I talked to the lawyer recently and I said, hey, what happened to that job? He's like, oh, we showed them all the documentation we had. They settled.
Dang. That's awesome. So that's a huge benefit. So you're almost
Yeah,
like an extension of their private investigator team at that point, being able to
exactly. Yeah.
get more evidence. Yeah, man, that's so cool. I love it. Well, we've been talking for a while, all incredibly good stuff. Is there, if you were talking to someone, because you've done everything from, again, real estate all the way to the photogrammetry stuff, even in different industries with photogrammetry than other people might think. If someone was just kind of starting off, they're like looking at the different business models, they like drones, they want to make money. There's a lot of people out there like that. What guidance would you give them? And I see you giving guidance often in our groups and stuff. What are your pet peeves and what guidance would you give people?
All right. So this is the guidance I've given a lot of people. And so I'll share it with you. So the first one is listen to your client's needs. It's really easy to go into a meeting or whatever with somebody and kind of know what your talking points are. But really what you should be doing is listening, reacting to what they're saying. And you'll work in the points you want to get across, but do it in a way that addresses whatever their needs are. So like my great example of the environmental lawyer who's like, I just need a video. I'm listening to that conversation. I'm like, he probably could really use an orthomosaic map. Let me talk to him about it. Or you're talking to a client who has no idea what they exactly need, but they kind of know a drone is the solution, but they don't understand how. So you just got to listen to them and address their needs. So that would be my tip number one. Tip number two is always think about creating relationships. So when you're out talking to somebody, you got to do the small talk. You got to do the, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's really hot today. Jesus Christ. Thank God you're in air conditioning or whatever. Just a dumb little conversation. It's so important to have that kind of human contact and not just be the
Yeah.
guy like, hey, okay, what do you need? I'm here. I'll go fly. What do you want? Build relationships with just dumb little small talk. Super important. And then the third thing I would say is do quality work. You will separate yourself. And if anybody wants to look at what I do, I try to do the highest quality thing I could, which is essentially my mind. I want to over deliver on what their expectations are. And I hear about it all the time from when I get random conversations here and there from people, say downstream from the person who hired me. They'll say, oh my God, we love what you give us every week or whatever. And
Mm,
it's because I believe because I'm giving them much better work than their expectation.
yeah.
So
I love it.
along those lines of do better work, there's a couple simple little rules of thumb that I have that I tell people. And number one is don't be jerky with your drone. And if you are jerky, cut out all the jerks.
Jerky is
Smooth.
and just the movement of the
The
lens and the
movement
gimbal.
of the
Yeah.
camera. I see
Yeah.
so much footage of other drone people where they're doing something and then they'll jerk the camera down and then continue doing something. I'm like, don't do that. Cut that part out. Edit that jerk
Yeah.
out. If you can't redo the shot, cut it out. Think when you watch on TV. When you watch on TV, everything is smooth. Movies, everything is smooth. We're pre-programmed to like that. When you have jerky movements, it's jarring. It says, hey, that's a drone, that's a camera in the air. Instead of kind of separate yourself from what you were engaged with and start thinking about what's going on with the drone. So don't be jerky. You're out there shooting, always be thinking, I need three kinds of shots. I need a close-up shot, I need a medium shot, and I need a wide angle shot. And always be thinking about capturing those three kinds of shots, whatever you're doing, because what happens when people watch it, if you introduce them to something in a wide shot and they maybe have a medium shot, they get an interest. Like if you're shooting really cool footage, they're like, oh, that's really cool. That light tower is really cool. And then you pay it off at the minute they're thinking that thing's really cool. You give them a nice tight shot in the light tower, or whatever. They're going to go, oh, that's so cool. You literally paid off their curiosity at the moment they were having it by giving them the detail. If you deprive them of the detail, they're just sitting there going, I want to see that thing you're showing me that looks so cool and the sun is so perfect and the lighting is great. But I can't, I want to get in. I want to see it up close. So pay it off. Always be shooting those 3 kinds of shots. And my last piece of advice is not advice I've actually come up with. It's this photographer that I watch all the time who has like this YouTube thing where he goes out and shoots every single day. And there's one thing he keeps talking about all the time is when you're shooting with the camera, you are shooting light. You are not shooting the object. You are shooting how the light is reacting to the object. So always be thinking about what I'm really shooting is light, not the tower, not the building, not as cool as all those things are. If you shoot it with the wrong light, it's not nearly as interesting. So always be thinking about I'm shooting light and how light is reflecting or reacting or playing off of object. And if you start really looking at photos that you think, oh, that's a really cool photo. If you start realizing, oh, it's really cool because the way the light is hitting that object,
Making
you
some
know,
shadows yeah.
or whatever. It's
Yeah.
hard to distill it down to one thing, but
Yeah.
you will notice that images shot with a drone or camera, any kind of camera really, that are appealing to you, they're appealing because the way the light, sort of reflecting off of everything.
Yeah, I feel like you have been one of our most prepared podcast guests that we've ever had. I love it. You're like, yes, my tips, here they are. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. I think this is super helpful for people. And I know this because you're successful at it. And then B, you help people out in our community often. And so I really appreciate you giving those thoughts and advice. So for people who are wanting to go check you out, your work, or say hey to you, contact you, what's the best way to look at your stuff, or say, hey, are you active on any particular social media platform?
I'm trying to be better at it. There's other people that are much better at social media, but it's one of the things I really need to focus more on. And so I do periodically update my Instagram
Okay.
with like a flood of content. And then my kid's like, Dad, calm down. Don't upload 30 things in one day.
What's your Instagram? Is it Southbay Drone Services?
Southbay drone services. Yeah,
Okay,
pretty
cool.
sure. I'm
Um,
sure you'll fix
and
that
then
in the notes below.
would you rather people look there or your website if they're checking out your stuff?
I look at my website. Yeah, southbaydroneservices.com, because that is the place that I make sure is as current as I humanly can make it.
Yeah.
So it definitely has all the different things. And by the way, I just redid it. So this is version 2.0. So it's as current and reflects me as a drone operator better than version 1.0 did.
Well, Brian Koester, thanks so much for giving me these 50 minutes of your time and everybody else out there to share your story with. It was great catching up with you, man. All right. Thanks, everyone.